Chapter 56. Tit for tat. The crowd was unable to clearly see the quick blows from Song Nanming. Each of them was covered in a very powerful ki aura, but Chen Xiang was able to keep up his opponent's speed. In fact, it seemed as if he was precisely judging the end location of each blow, and then accurately retaliated with his own. Chen Xiang was using the Azure Dragon True Ki. Violent lightning was flashing in between the two figures, rumbling as they moved from place to place. With each counter blow, a roar could be heard, each producing its own ki aura storm. This was far more imposing and stronger than the so-called dragon aura fist from Song Nanming. The side above the tournament stage was a dazzling sight to behold. It was as if two people were responsible for a giant parade of fireworks. Except, instead of countless sparks, they were deadly explosions caused from the two fists colliding against each other. It was Song Nanming who had first initiated the fight, but now he was gradually retreating, yet somehow he remained dignified. Both of his fists were now numb. He could sense Chen Xiang's vigorous true ki from each counter-attack. But it was more than that. Song Nanming had also thought that he would be able to quickly defeat Chen Xiang by casting the Dragon Aura Fist, so Song Nanming had desperately consumed a vast amount of true ki for the martial skill. Yet it just ended up being easily repulsed by Chen Xiang. This lost ancient martial skill is not something the likes of you can use. You are simply unworthy of the dragon martial technique. Chen Xiang suddenly sneered as his blows became even more fierce. Suddenly he retreated a few steps as golden ki started to emanate from his whole body. On both of his fists, golden true ki was flowing inside his meridians, similar to what happened when Song Nanming used the dragon martial technique. But compared to the previous scene, this one seemed much more formidable. The golden ore valiantly surged, reflecting even in Chen Xiang's eyes. His hands looked like they were covered in solid gold, vaguely giving off the illusion that they had turned into vigorous and powerful eagle claws. In fact, golden scales started appearing one by one, piece by piece. Their aura valiantly surged, combining and fusing with the slaughter ki, which made it capable of shaking people's very soul. The dragon martial technique was suitable for someone who used the metal-attributed true ki. Chen Xiang's metal-attributed true ki corresponded to the white tiger, as his metal-attributed true ki carried killing intent. When he casted the dragon martial technique, his imposing manner not only combined with his threatening slaughter ki, but rather multiplied its strength. His imposing aura was not only that of slaughter and fear, but also the aura of someone who disdained the entire world. Arrogant, conceited, ignoring all world powers and influences, he stood there alone in that distant tower. The emperor fiercely rose up from his throne. His eyes were wide open and a clear look of astonishment could be seen in them. Looking at Chen Xiang, the emperor muttered, "Impossible! Impossible! Only we of the imperial family possess the dragon martial technique. How in the world would a brat like him learn it?" Suddenly, pure raw murderous intent appeared on the emperor's face. "Inside the entire southern martial empire, we must never allow others to grasp the dragon martial technique. Only we, of the imperial family, can be considered the true descendants of the dragon race." Chen Xiang had never thought the dragon martial technique was profound or hard to master. After all, he simply followed and recreated the exact same things he saw in Song Nanming when he had operated his true ki for this technique. Albeit, it was a little bit complicated, but Chen Xiang had an extremely powerful and keen divine sense. He easily perfectly memorized it and branded it onto his mind. Now that he had finally cast his new skill, an amazingly powerful aura was emitted throughout his entire body. You. How could you? Where in the world did you learn this? Only those of us who have the dragon blood inheritance are able to learn it. A mere mortal like you. His words weren't even completely finished before Chen Xiang took a step, which erupted into a loud explosion. In fact, even the tournament stage that had been made of thick wood was suddenly crushed, completely collapsing under the tyrannical might of the single step. Smoke and dust scattered in all directions, shocking the hell out of everybody watching. This level of frightening power caused everyone close to the stage to retreat. They feared their lives would be in danger if they stayed too close. Although it consumes a lot of true ki, its power is equally great. Indeed, it is truly worthy of the title of a lost ancient martial skill. Chen Xiang could not help but marvel at the strength he now possessed. He had not expected to learn this mighty martial skill. Chen Xiang had gotten a very large harvest. Song Nanming was shocked by this, but there was also hate and envy at how Chen Xiang could display the very same dragon martial technique, yet at such a more profound and powerful level. It also gave Song Nanming insight into the technique's frightening depths, yet he simply could not reach the same level of force as Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang, do not blame me. Blame yourself for showing off your ability. Song Nanming's eyes suddenly flashed with a hint of a ferocious and ruthless aura. He fiercely waved his hand as 10 very fine and small needles penetrated the dense smoke of dust, flying straight towards Chen Xiang. Although smoke was flying around everywhere, Chen Xiang's divine sense was still extremely formidable. He was able to completely grasp all the movement of objects around him, including those tiny needles that were currently flying straight at him. As the needles flew towards Chen Xiang, he shouted as a sudden wall of fire appeared in front of him. This was alchemical Truki fire, which was capable of refining even the most heat-resistant materials that were harder than iron. Those tiny needles never stood a chance. Those needles instantly melted when they struck that wall of fire. The firewall also soon vanished. Shortly after, the smoke started to disperse as well. With that powerful and mighty dragon ki aura surging in both his fists, Chen Xiang walked step by step towards Song Nanming. Dragon aura fist. Chen Xiang coldly shouted. Both of his fists crazily smashed towards his opponent. It was as if thousands of golden meteors were raining down on Song Nanming. Song Nanming was still in daze due to the fact that Chen Xiang could evade even those tiny hidden needles. Song Nanming didn't even see it coming when those dragon aura fists rained down him. In just the blink of an eye, his whole body had been struck hundreds of times by those hard golden fists. The sound of impact on his flesh was like a thunderbolt capable of shaking the heavens, yet also resembled fierce firecrackers that were successively bursting one after another. Song Nanming's whole body was attacked so fiercely and madly that every piece of his flesh, bones, and even meridians had ruptured and broken. His entire body looked like it had been squeezed together into paste. He lay there on the ground, like a large piece of meat pie, somehow still alive. Technically, since he did not die, this brutal beating was not counted as a violation of the rules. However, Song Nanming could be considered to be among the living dead. From where does he resemble anything like human? There only remained a putty of rotten meat. Everyone in the field vomited. Some people were even more frightened and were also shrieking while they were vomiting. That thing did not resemble the previous arrogant, handsome and terrifying crown prince even the slightest bit. You asked for it. Chen Xiang thought that he was in the right and simply taught a very simple lesson to the arrogant crown prince. Originally, he simply wanted to defeat Song Nanming, but when he had attacked with those vicious needles, Chen Xiang erupted with fury and was unable to hold back his power as he exploded with 80% of his full strength. Nanming! A roar came from the far-off distance, yet it still shook the ears of the audience in the wide field. A very angry middle-aged man wearing long pao suddenly appeared at the side of Song Nanming, whose very condition of whether he was still alive or not was very hard to determine. This was the Southern Martial Empire's emperor, Song Wu. Everyone present on the wide field were still in a daze from the previous incident. Chen Xiang had crippled the emperor's son, and emperor is in no way weak. Maybe a big battle would erupt soon. Take the crown prince back to the imperial palace. Song Wu shouted at the two people behind him. They were the imperial palace experts, who had arrived right after Song Wu. They had previously come along with him to watch the tournament. Moreover, they were also very strong. Chen Xiang didn't violate any sort of rules, and as Song Nanming's father, he was also very well aware of the petty means Song Nanming used in the tournament. The emperor guessed that Chen Xiang must have found out and was annoyed. In order to prevent everyone here from discovering the petty tricks of Crown Prince, the emperor made the others to take Song Nanming back to Imperial Palace, rather than sending him to the Yao family. The emperor's reputation was more important than anything else. If the general population came to learn about how the Crown Prince resorted to deceitful tricks, then the days of ruling over the Southern Martial Empire would soon come to an end. Furthermore, if this sort of thing was found out by the Yao family, then they would use it as blackmail and threaten the emperor into doing things he did not want to do. Chen Xiang soon saw through the hidden reason in Song Wu's act. Chen Xiang simply smiled and said, "Indeed you are the monarch of a country. That decision you just made, to not keep your son in the Yao family, was brilliant. Soon you will realize that the action you just took gave you a big benefit and also saved you from a larger predicament." Song Wu coldly snorted. It is normal to get injured while participating in the martial art tournament, but you were too heavy-handed. You better hope the Crown Prince is alright, otherwise. After saying his threat, Song Wu quickly sped away. The emperor had not taken into account that Chen Xiang was responsible for this incident. Everyone let out a deep breath. At the same time they admired Song Wu's mind. Chapter 57, Skies Beyond Skies. Chen Xiang walked towards the old man who was presiding over the tournament, and asked, "I am the winner of this tournament. Now may I receive the rewards?" There was a perfectly visible expression of helplessness on the old man's face. He said, "I'm just presiding over the tournament. The reward is not distributed by me. The true elemental Dan is given out by the sects. You will get it once you pass through their assessment. A sliver of a smile flashed on Chen Xiang's face. Although it seemed very charming, that old man felt unbased fear and could not help but shudder. It seemed that just a moment earlier, an overwhelming slaughter ki had secretly burrowed deep into his body and soul, making him feel like death was nigh. Actually, just a moment ago, Chen Xiang was extremely angry and had inadvertently released frightening amount of slaughter ki. From the very start of this tournament, to its current end, he knew that it was manipulated by others. Even the final winner would find it very difficult to get that true elemental Dan. Chen Thuong arrived, although he was one of the Chen family seniors, due to wanting to curry favor with the Yao family members in the martial sect. He wanted to prevent the development of his own family, even resorted into attacking his own family patriarch. Previously, when Chen Thuong wounded Chen Tianhu, the entire Chen family, whether their position was high or low, no longer accepted Chen Thuong as one of their own. Chen Thuong was followed by a beautiful, delicate, and fair-skinned man. He looked very elegant and bewitching, his whole body exuding a very pure true ki. From this alone, one could tell that this martial artist's true ki was astonishingly vibrant and pure. Chen Xiang, I did not think you would successfully open the Dan King Hole. Moreover, you also harmed my new apprentice. Yao Chong's master was actually Chen Thuong. Shut up, you traitor of the family. You are not part of our Chen family. What I want to do is my own business and none of yours. Why would my Dan shop have to get an old dog's approval? Who do you think you are? You're just an old dog who has a specialty in licking other people's shoes. Chen Xiang loudly shouted, his voice vibrating throughout the whole field. Every single one of the hidden Chen family members heard it, and their hearts relaxed. You fucking brat. You seek death. Chen Thuong had a very red face due to his anger, and wanted nothing more than to personally come out and fight Chen Xiang. But before he could do anything, he was stopped by the men behind him. Let me and the Southern Martial Empire's strongest teenager exchange blows. I would like to see with what ability he want to take away the true elemental Dan. That man coldly said. His complexion was filled with disdain, making one feel as if he thought he was the strongest in the entire world. Chen Xiang replied back with a curt and cold tone. You both are part of sects and belong to their world. You are to only participate in those matters. Yet you violate your sect rules and regulations, especially this old fart. If you win, this true elemental Dan is yours. If you lose, you have to die. The man coldly said. Why would I have to die if I lose? Chen Xiang sneered. Because no one has ever lived after a martial art contest against me, Zhang Long. Zhang Long said with a proud look. Chen Xiang burst into laughter, as if he had just heard the world's most funniest joke. Aren't you just at 8th level of mortal martial realm? In the eyes of those inner sect disciples, you're similar to dog feces. Do not think that after coming out of the sex world, you would be my king. Do not attempt to abuse your power here. After all, from the looks of it, you do not even have enough capability to do so. Zhang Long was furious as cold ki started to rise and emanate throughout his whole body. His eyes were filled to the brim with murderous intentions. You're definitely going to die today. Chen Xiang did not know how Chen Thuong found such an opinionated guy. It seemed that in his eyes, people who were not in his sect were just ants. At this time, the crowd had all retreated. A battle with an expert in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm would have a very large backlash, but at the same time they were also very excited about the upcoming match. This was because, if what they heard is true, then to get the rewards Chen Xiang had to defeat the martial arts sect's disciple. Just viewing their battle could be considered very fortunate. After all, this was a martial arts sect's disciple. No doubt, this match would give many benefits to the observing martial artists. The ground was covered with splinters of wood, which was all due to Chen Xiang's previous stomp that had destroyed the entire tournament stage. Chen Thuong retreated back. He was very confident in Zhang Long. Chen Thuong thought that Chen Xiang would definitely die this time, and then the Chen family would be completely annexed by the Yao family. This would lead to his relations with that Yao family member in the martial arts sect to become much better. It looks like you're older than me. Do you think winning against me right now could be considered glorious? I'm only 16 years old. Chen Xiang said with a smile, but this expression seemed like he was smiling yet not, creating a considerable paradox. If he hadn't spoke, everyone here really would have forgotten about his age. Thinking about this, everyone sighed in their hearts. Only at 16 years of age, he already had such accomplishments. This was definitely one very prestigious and powerful teenager. Fine, I'll allow you to have one move. I will stand here unmoving. but after that I'll act with no mercy. Zhonglong had just arrived and Chen Thuong had told him that Chen Xiang was only in the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. Because Zhonglong was in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, he was very disdainful of the fact that the other party was an alchemist and most certainly not focused on the martial path, so of course he is quite weak. In the regular world, anyone in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm was already considered to be one of the top martial artists. But the disciples from the martial arts sects could also absorb richer spirit ki, as well as eat spirit-grade food, and then their true ki exercises were also very good. With all of these factors combined, the people in the regular world could not hope to match the sect's level of martial skill. "You'll let me have a single move?" Chen Xiang's voice was emotionless, but he was secretly delighted in his heart. An 8th level of the mortal martial realm expert was about to be struck by his fist with no retaliation. Not to mention Zhonglong, even if it was someone in 9th level of mortal martial realm, would definitely not feel fine afterwards. Zhonglong sneered and said, "You must have to squeeze out all your power in this one attack, because it'll be the last one of your life. Afterwards, you are dead." "I'm going to attack." Chen Xiang retreated a few steps. Inside his heart he was secretly very pleased. He did not think that there would be such an arrogant idiot in this world. Zhonglong smiled disdainfully. His whole body shook a bit as a pure white mist was emitted from his body, subsequently transforming into a strong ki aura. It formed a ki cover that enveloped his whole body. The whole crowd could feel the ki aura shield and even see how sturdy it is. This was because when the ki shield was formed, the broken pieces of wood bordering it had instantaneously turned into powder. "You sure enough have some means, but it's merely at this level. You have let me down." Chen Xiang thought in his heart, while operating the Tai Chi divine exercise and mobilizing the 5 elements of true ki in his body. Last time, when he was in 5th level of mortal martial realm, he defeated Chen Yan using the very same 5 elements true ki, fusing and transforming them into the universal force. This was a chaotic ancient force that has existed since the beginning of time. It was the power that formed heaven and earth. Its true might was unfathomable. However, Chen Xiang's universal force was only in embryonic stages, yet it was still extremely terrifying. The last time he casted it, his entire body went through unbearable pain, but now it was a completely different matter. He was now in the 8th level of mortal martial realm. Moreover, his body had gone through refinement in the immortal and devil pool, slowly transforming his body into an immortal and devil body. Now, his body was entirely capable of withstanding this ancient universal force. This could be said to be his ace in the hole, his strongest card, which he rarely used. When he saw that the opposing party in front of him was an idiot who wanted to die, he would certainly not refuse and definitely comply with the other party's wishes. When his opponent died, he would let them know and feel with their body what was called people beyond people, skies beyond skies. TLN basically means no matter how good you think you are, there is always someone out there that is better. In the Raws it was only half of the original idiom skies beyond skies, but I added it all. The full idiom gives a better and more complete message. The 5 elements true ki soon fused together within Chen Xiang, transforming itself into the universal force. It surged into his arms, yet did not reveal a trace of its existence. At this moment, Chen Xiang leapt and rushed towards Zhonglong. Chapter 58, Prelude of War. Seeing Chen Xiang come towards him, moreover, not even releasing any type of breath fluctuations, Zhonglong pursed his lips and showed a contemptuous sneer. Chen Xiang's speed was not fast. After all, he was going to attack a standing target, but upon his fist was the universal force from the fusion of 5 elements true ki's heavenly tiger storm killing fist. Chen Xiang arrived in front of Zhonglong. Chen Xiang's fists rumbled as they moved. Suddenly, above his 2 fists, a translucent tiger head appeared. The tiger head opened its big jaws and directly penetrated Zhonglong's proud ki or shield, striking unhindered on his chest. The ki shield was broken in an instant. Both Chen Thuong and Zhonglong were fiercely startled in their hearts, but before either of them could react, the fist had already arrived in front of Zhonglong. Chen Xiang's fist, which contained that mysterious power, struck flatly on Zhonglong's chest. As the fist landed on Zhonglong's chest, he felt an endless amount of power madly gushing into his body and decimating every inch of his body as quickly as possible. In that very moment, he felt various kinds of pain exploding throughout his body, and then lost his consciousness, lost forever from this world. The entire crowd was petrified like statues, but they also could not help but continuously replay the scene from just a moment ago in their minds. Chen Xiang blasted his fist, penetrating that formidable ki shield, as it struck unhindered on Zhonglong's chest. Instantly, A blood mist burst out from where his body used to be, exploding from within. It was like his body was a tomato that had just been ruthlessly squashed on the ground, flattened into a red mush. Just one fist from Chen Xiang, and Zhang Long, who was in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, became made putty. That blood mist was still floating within the wide field, drifting with the wind, intermittently exuding a fishy smell. This caused a feeling of nausea to rise within everyone's throat. The crowd watching were shocked to their very core. This scene had forever etched itself into their minds. Chen Xiang looked indifferent. Humphrey snorted in low voice, waving his hand and releasing his true key fire, burning that meat putty on the ground. Afterwards, he picked up Zhang Long's storage pouch and threw it into his. I defeated the sect disciple. Now give me the true elemental den. Chen Xiang looked coldly at Chen Thuong. Although he had killed Zhang Long, Chen Xiang knew in his heart that he would not be punished. In his opinion, such a proud, arrogant and supercilious guy would never be acknowledged by any of the martial arts sects. Not to mention the fact that Zhang Long had violated the rules and abused his powers in the regular world. Chen Thuong's wide eyebrows were madly twitching, with bloodshot eyes. He looked grim and terrifying. He was furious. He had not expected Chen Xiang to be so strong. Only one punch, and Zhang Long had exploded from within. Even for Chen Thuong, this feat would be very difficult to achieve. I cannot give it to you, Chen Thuong yelled. Why? Chen Xiang coldly and forcefully asked. It is because you killed Yao Tianhua and also a Yao family elder. Due to killing members from the martial art tournament managing family, you cannot be rewarded, Chen Thuong loudly shouted, sending the audience into an uproar. Previously, they had not thought Yao Tianhua was killed by Chen Xiang. Yet now, everyone did not doubt a single bit of it, because Chen Xiang's strength explained everything. You have no evidence, do not speak irresponsibly, Chen Xiang indifferently said. Considering just the relationship between him and the Yao family, even if nothing had been revealed, the Chen and Yao family would still go to war. It was just a matter of time. Chen Thuong sneered. By using an ancient secret method, we have collected Yao Tianhua's residual spirit. He told us himself. Do you want to hear? After speaking, Chen Thuong showed a palm-sized yellow paper with various patterns on it. Upon seeing it, Chen Xiang was very surprised because he knew this was a talisman. It was a very rare, mystical and frightening thing. Only a few people knew how to make such a thing. Talisman experts, he had often heard Su Meiyao and Ba Yao mentioning them. Even those two mysterious beauties constantly longed for this vocation. Chen Thuong read a spell and poured his true key into the talisman. Immediately after, the pattern above the talisman suddenly lit up, and everyone heard a very terrifying voice. Chen Xiang killed us. Chen Xiang killed us. The voice sounded like it originated from hell, extremely terrifying and full of resentment. Hearing it, everyone felt a cold shiver running down their spines. What do you have to say now? Chen Thuong coldly said. He finally revealed his trump card, which can intensify the conflict between the Chen and Yao family, urging the two families into a full-scale war. As long as he helped the Yao family eliminate the Chen family, then the Yao family would no doubt be very grateful to him. With such irrefutable evidence confirming Chen Xiang killed Yao Tianhua, everyone was very shocked. Originally, a few people were still uncertain, but now that uncertainty had vanished in puff of smoke. Correct. I killed Yao Tianhua and that Yao family elder, Chen Xiang calmly said. Everyone admired the fact that he can be so calm even at this moment. We, the Yao family will fight with the Chen family until one of us has been exterminated. A middle-aged man with a striking resemblance to Yao Tianhua jumped out and yelled. This was the Yao family patriarch, Yao Hong. They were the ones who first tried to kill me. They even sent assassins. On that day, we of the Chen family hosted a banquet and invited many major families. You, Yao family, wanted to create trouble, and sent various assassins to kill the other family's children. Through this method, you wanted the other families to become hostile to our Chen family, Chen Xiang gloomily said. Although he had no conclusive evidence, every single word he said was the truth. Slanderous accusations. We, the Yao family, would never do such a thing, Yao Hong shouted. He knew that Chen Xiang didn't have any evidence. The Yao family's assassins worked very discreetly and made sure to cover up their tracks. Chen Xiang smiled coldly before his body suddenly disappeared and reappeared in front of an old man. This old man was one of the Yao family elders. Although this elder could feel somebody coming near him, he failed to act in time. Chen Xiang's actions were far faster. With a single move he scattered his opponent's true key. Do not come near me or I'll kill him, Chen Xiang said. His palm struck the head of that Yao family elder and stunned him. The Yao family elders were the source of the Yao family strength, so the Yao family members did not dare act rashly. Chen Xiang, you are definitely dead today. If you surrender yourself, I'll make sure to leave your corpse intact. Chen Thuong threatened. However, he could not act. Otherwise Chen Xiang may very well kill the Yao family elder and then Chen Thuong would be held responsible for it. Everyone thought that Chen Xiang grabbed the Yao family elder as a hostage, but it was far from the truth. He just wanted to use Bai Yao's strange martial skill on the Yao family elder, which could control the consciousness of the other party and make them speak the truth. Chen Xiang poured his divine sense into the Yao family elder's head, and operated the key according to that peculiar exercise. The Yao family elder then fell into a sluggish state. I ask you, was it your Yao family who had sent assassins to kill the major family's children? Chen Xiang asked. Yes. That Yao family elder replied. Hearing the answer, Yao Hong's complexion suddenly became very ugly as the entire field burst into clamor. Before, when they heard Chen Xiang, they didn't believe a single bit of it. But now, when a Yao family elder admitted to the fact, it was very hard not to believe. Why? Chen Xiang continued with his interrogation. Because the Chen family forces were slowly but steadily growing. Once the Chen family stepped into the Dan business, it would threaten our Yao family. So we took the advantage of major families participating in the Chen family banquet and tried to kill those families' children, making them hostile towards the Chen family. By doing this, it will be beneficial to our Yao family. That Yao family elder replied. Chen Xiang sneered and said, Ladies and gentlemen, the Yao family has done many despicable things. Our Chen family, in order for the general population to get low-costing dans, found at the Dan King Hall. Yet the Yao family vigorously tried to stop us from opening Dan King Hall. Their purpose is evidently clear, and very simple. They want to continue gaining everybody's hard-earned spare coins, making sure you select their Yao family's high-priced Dan shop. Chapter 59. The battle starts. Yao Hong was furious. He shouted Chen Xiang, in the end, what strange demonic technique did you use to control our Yao family elder? Chen Xiang, you killed our Yao family's peerless genius and now you even want to slander our Yao family. We, the Yao family, must eradicate your Chen family. Chen Xiang coldly laughed and replied, Yao Tianhu, a peerless genius? Is that why he lost to me? Also, I acted all alone. Why must you pull in my Chen family? It seems that your Yao family is really worried about our Chen family affecting your Dan business. At this time, every single person in the crowd had already cursed the Yao family multiple times. When the Dan King Hall had just been opened, it was immediately trashed before it could even do business. A lot of people knew about this, and now listening to Chen Xiang say it, they felt what the Yao family did was truly very insidious. Chen Xiang, release him. You're a martial artist, so let us fight it out fair and square. Chen Thuong had a new outlook on Chen Xiang's strength. Even one of the Yao family elders was unable to resist one of Chen Xiang's moves and was instantly held hostage. Chen Xiang coldly said, Chen Thuong, you're no longer a Chen family member. You were already expelled from our Chen family. You're just a traitor to the Chen family, and according to our rules, any traitor must die. After he finished speaking, Chen Xiang's palm struck the Yao family elder's head, which was like chipping a watermelon. It instantly got torn apart and the gray matter of his brain splashed in all directions. Watching this scene, everyone was stunned. Committing such an action was nothing short of a declaration of war from Chen Xiang to the Yao family. Humph. Anyway, I've already killed 2 of the Yao family members. Scrapping 1 more is nothing. Chen Xiang calmly stated. The Yao family was very strong, yet Chen Xiang was now standing alone in front of the Yao family. With how Chen Xiang was acting, he was simply seeking death. As expected, Yao Hong roared, surround him, I want him hacked into pieces. Chen Xiang, this is what you asked for. Chen Thuong knew that he had committed a grave crime and was damned as a traitor, but he was not afraid of it. He believed in the regular world. Only a few people in the Chen family could overpower him. Chen Xiang was suddenly surrounded by several old men. These old men were the Yao family elders, 2 of which were in the 8th level of mortal martial realm. Yao Hong was also at the 8th level of mortal martial realm. However, Chen Xiang was still just calmly standing there. A lot of people on the field quickly retreated, but around 300 or so did not move. Yao Hong calmly gazed over these 300 or so people. The true key emanating from some of those people were not weak at all. These people were not pushovers. Chen Tianhu. Chen Firong recognized one of them and immediately shouted. When he saw several other experts from the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, his heart could not help but beat like crazy. Before, when he went back to the Chen family, he did not find such experts present. Traitor, today is the day you die. Chen Tianhu took out a broadsword with a tiger head-shaped hilt while walking towards Chen Xiang's location. The Chen family had actually arrived at the Yao family entrance. No one expected this, and even more so that they would bring along with 300 people. Nonetheless, the Yao family experts were now feeling a lot of pressure, because the other side had 6 experts in 8th level of the mortal martial realm, while they only had 4. Mr. Chen, this Yao Hong glanced at Chen Firong. Chen Firong was in the 9th level of the mortal martial realm and he was backing up the Yao family. This was why they dared to go to war with the Chen family. Leave it to me. Chen Firong sneered and immediately floated, flying towards Chen Tianhu. At this time, Chen Xiang suddenly disappeared from his location as he leapt fiercely up into the air, arriving in front of Chen Firong. Chen Xiang proceeded to roar, as a large amount of lightning and wind or azure true ki surged out from his mouth. Accompanied by a terrifying roar of an angry dragon, this aura drowned Chen Firong. Kill all the Chen family members. Leave no one alive. Yao Hong shouted. At this time, Chen Tianhu, along with his tiger head broadsword and 50 other strong Chen family members, rushed towards Yao Hong. Everyone slaughtered ki sword as true ki exploded from within their bodies. Watching their patriarch personally take action, every other Chen family member was reluctant to fall behind. Everyone madly roared, facing the sky and took out their broadswords. In front of thousands of Yao family members, all the Chen family members marched forward with a steady pace. The roar of 300 Chen family members resounded throughout King City. With each step, the entire field also shook. They were the elites of Chen family and were completely unafraid of death. They were selected to protect the Chen family and they would never hesitate to defend their own family. 300 people against thousands. The Yao family had far more people. The distant crowd could not help but get roused and cheer for the Chen family from the side. Chen Xiang and Chen Firong fought, as the 300 Chen family members and thousands of Yao family members also start fighting. Both battles broke out at the same time, and various roars were mixed together. The entire battlefield was confusing and chaotic. Only an instant had passed after the battle started, yet more than half of the bricks in entire field had already been destroyed. As long as Chen Firong was occupied with him, Chen Xiang was not worried about Chen Tianhu and others, because they were in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm. Chen Firong, after suffering the azure dragon roar in the sky, had a dignified complexion. This was because he was absolutely sure that Chen Xiang's strength was at the 8th level of the mortal martial realm. Chen Xiang was only 16 years old, having lived in the regular world with very scarce resources, yet has still managed to reach such a level. Not to mention that he was also an alchemist. Chen Xiang, I have to admit you are very talented, but this is your matter, the Chen family's matter, and no longer has anything to do with me. I am only doing this to gain benefits in the sect. If I help the Yao family here, I'll obtain various advantages in the true martial sect, therefore I must kill you. I already do not have any sense of belonging and I hate the Chen family. Chen Firong sternly shouted with a smile. Chen Xiang maintained total silence as he fused his internal 5 elements of true ki. Facing a 9th level of the mortal martial realm expert, who came from a martial arts sect, he could only rely on the universal true ki to defeat this opponent. Everyone knew that people from the martial arts sects came to watch the King City martial art tournament to select a disciple. Those people were all at least in the 9th level of the mortal martial realm. This kind of strength, in the Southern Martial Empire, was extremely rare and their level of strength was also very terrifying. At such a young age, Chen Xiang was going to face one of these experts. A lot of people were also looking forward to this as Chen Xiang's strength was also unfathomable. Just a moment ago, he had killed a martial arts sect's disciple who was in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm with a single punch. Humph. I did not expect the Chen family members to be such idiots. You are sending a mere brat to contain me. If it were those 6 experts in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, then perhaps you would have had an opportunity to escape. But now you can only die along with them. The Chen family is finished. From Chen Firong's body, a red true ki emerged, covering his hands and feet as his eyes gradually reddened up. Seeing this, Chen Xiang retreated a few steps. For the first time, he was going to fight with the 9th level of the mortal martial realm expert. This was one of the strongest enemies he had ever faced. Sensing the level of true ki, Chen Xiang gradually became more and more dignified. Chapter 60 The White Tiger Divine Fist. The Yao family had a lot of people, but when compared to the Chen family's 6-8 level mortal martial realm experts and their 300 or so elites, their overall strength was weaker. The Yao family members were slowly losing their ground as they were forced inside the Yao family estate, but that strong giant door of the Yao family was blasted to smithereens by Chen Tianhu as the Chen family forced their way through. Meanwhile, that giant field outside had been turned into Chen Xiang and Chen Firong's personal battlefield. Chen Firong's hands and feet were wrapped in that red true key. Moreover, a wild and savage breath could be sensed emanating from them. The red true key covering both his hands slowly started to take shape, resembling a beast's. With two strong and thick arms with sharp claws, it looked very frightening. His legs were also the same. All his limbs were also wrapped in the red true key, and surprisingly, all of them had been transformed into that of a beast's, which looked extremely tough. Waves of strong and fierce true ki flew towards Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang retreated a few steps while frowning. He looked at Chen Firong and noticed that both of his eyes had completely turned red, resembling that of a fierce wolf. Is this the true form of the 9th level of mortal martial realm? Chen Xiang said in his heart. The 9th level of mortal martial realm was the true form realm. Depending on the individual's cultivating exercise, a form was congealed from true ki in their denshin. Ordinarily, these can be divided into two common types. One is the bird or beast form, while the other was a weapon form. Of course, there are other types of forms, such as lotus, star, or lightning form. Every single one of these are determined according to their cultivation exercise. If the true ki congealed out a bird or beast form, then you could use the special power of that anima. If one congealed out a weapon, then they could form a very powerful weapon apparition. If at that time, they were also using a weapon, then the weapon apparition and the one they were holding would fuse together, becoming even more powerful. Right in front of Chen Xiang, Chen Firong had actually congealed a wolf type from his true ki. Angry Wolf Fist. Chen Firong blasted a fist in air. Immediately after, the place where he stood was unable to withstand the sudden release of powerful and violent true ki. His feet formed two craters as he punched out. A red light also broke out. This red light burst open in blink of an eye into countless wolf heads with their jaws wide open, forming a makeshift wall as they closed in on Chen Xiang. These wolf heads created from true ki contained tyrannical force. Chen Xiang was sure if he was hit directly, he would still suffer heavily despite his powerful body. Chen Xiang sent out a shove of his hand and gathered the universal true ki from his danshin and released outwards. That ki aura cemented a wall which stood firmly in front of him. The universal true ki was created by fusing the 5 elements of true ki, yet it was colorless and invisible. It could be considered to be transparent, but people could still sense its peculiar vibe. The numerous wolf heads created from true ki came flying towards Chen Xiang, releasing waves after waves of ki. After the ground came in contact with the ki waves, it was blasted into many pieces. Those numerous true ki-filled violent wolf heads struck the ki aura wall that was protecting Chen Xiang's body. The strength of both true kis were quite similar as their clash resulted in a thunderous roar. Due to the collision, a ki shockwave was created. It was similar to an undulated wave that spread all 4 directions. The bricks within the wide field shook along with the ki wave, which in turn, were smashed into powder one after another. The original field, which was entirely covered with bricks, had now become an uneven ground of mud. In front of Chen Xiang, an even deeper crater had been formed. When Chen Firong saw that his initial attack failed to do anything, he immediately flew over. Those giant wolf-like legs of his treaded on the ground. Along his path, many small craters appeared. With each step he took, it shook the ground along with thunderous sounds. It was as if a giant angry elephant was madly rushing through the field. Chen Firong was shocked by the fact that Chen Xiang was capable of even releasing a bizarre and powerful true ki that could even withstand such an attack. But Chen Firong still believed that no matter what happened, Chen Xiang was still just a 8th level of mortal martial realm teenager. Whether it was Chen Xiang's combat experience, or how vibrant his true ki was, neither of those could even be compared with Chen Firong's. He was completely confident in his victory. Arrogant little brat. Today I'll send you off to heaven. Chen Firong grinned ferociously as he fiercely jumped out. Both of his legs stuck close together as they emitted a red light. Quick as lightning, he diagonally slammed down from high above. You're just a wolf, nothing more than a mangy mutt. What's so impressive about that? Chen Xiang sneered. Watching Chen Firong falling down from the sky, the universal true ki gathered around Chen Xiang's fists as he simultaneously released slaughter ki. He punched out his fists sliding fast. As his attack cut through the air, a thunderous tiger roar resounded. White Tiger Divine Fist. Chen Xiang welcomed Chen Thuong's slam attack, which was similar to an immense mountain falling down. As the attack descended, Chen Xiang's fist struck on the dead center of Chen Thuong's soles. Suddenly, a tiger's roar soared into the sky. As the ki waves swept forth in all directions, the sun was blown away from the blast, and a few cracks could also be seen on the ground. Chen Thuong thought that his attack would simply destroy all of Chen Xiang's defense and plunge him into a dead end. Who could have thought that in a blink of an eye, Chen Thuong's foot would suddenly be struck by an immense and unfathomable amount of force that smashed into his whole thigh. His leg had already been utterly decimated under Chen Xiang's White Tiger Divine Fist. The entire crowd was horrified, and to their shock, Chen Thuong's leg appeared withered as if all its vital essence had been extracted. This was White Tiger Divine Fist's formidability. This was also the first time Chen Xiang had used this skill. After using it, not only did a frightening power burst out, but it released an seemingly endless amount of slaughter ki, engulfing all of the vitality from the opposite party. Old mutt. This is the consequence of underestimating an enemy, Chen Xiang coldly said before he suddenly appeared right in front of Chen Thuong. Chen Thuong felt a mix of surprise, anger and hate, all at the same time. He still did not know what type of trick Chen Xiang had used just a moment ago. Chen Thuong had never seen or even heard of such a thing. This trick appeared to be without any attributes similar to a physical force, yet at the same time it wasn't. Do not be complacent, now you're also burned out. Chen Thuong blasted his fist, countering Chen Xiang's blow. He believed that Chen Xiang had completely exhausted his trick for that attack from just a moment ago. After all, Chen Xiang was only at 8th level of mortal martial realm, and his true ki was bound to not be as vigorous as Chen Thuong's. But Chen Thuong was completely, horribly, wrong. His fist rumbled as he punched out, but Chen Xiang just counterattacked Chen Thuong with yet another White Tiger Divine Fist, and just like before, a tiger roar could be heard again as an immense power burst out and surged into Chen Thuong's arm, completely destroying it. Due to the impact force, Chen Thuong flew back and spat out a mouthful of blood. He had not only lost a leg and an arm, but also, just a moment ago, Chen Xiang had violently shook Chen Thuong's 5 Zhang and 6 Fu with the help of White Tiger Divine Fist. TLN, 5 Zhang and 6 Fu in nothing more than the internal organs. In Chinese medicine 5 Zhang are heart, liver, spleen, lung and kidney, while 6 Fu are small intestine, large intestine, gallbladder, urinary bladder, stomach and Sanjiao. Sanjiao is the meridians connecting the major organs. In future I will continue to use 5 Zhang and 6 Fu. It just basically means internal organs. The crowd watching was shocked. That White Tiger Divine Fist from Chen Xiang was not only completely overbearing, but the slaughter ki gave off an oppressive pressure. Everyone assumed that this level of attack should consume a large amount of true ki and could be cast out once was already formidable enough. However, no one thought that Chen Xiang could still cast it again with such ease. Once again a sandstorm was created in the field as Chen Xiang slowly walked towards Chen Thuong. In an unemotional, yet angry tone, he said, "You wounded my father, sent people to trash Dan King Ho, and also collaborated with the Yao family to destroy our Chen family. I will not let such a traitor die so easily."